Good evening, and welcome to the monthly Grossmont School Board open session. I'm going to reconvene this meeting in open session. And I call this meeting to order. Speaking as the board president, my goal tonight is to have a short, efficient, but interesting board meeting. I hope all members concur. Yes. Unless someone would like to stay here for a long time. Okay. Member Schreiber will not be here in person, but she is present by teleconference, and all votes will be by voice tonight. I'd like to start this meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd like to call upon Ryan Pena to lead the Pledge of Allegiance.
Place your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please don't sit yet. We have a moment of silence. It is with great sadness that we announce the death of 4 retired district employees. Russell Yeager was hired by the district in December 1995 as a custodian at Helix High School. He retired in 2007 after over 11 years of service to the district. Russell passed away August 22nd, 2013 at the age of 60. Daryl Downs, retired GUHSD teacher, passed away on October 2nd, 2013 due to complications from pancreatic cancer. He taught at Granite Hills High School for 22 years, most of those years as the instrumental music director. In his spare time, Daryl enjoyed golfing and spending time with his family. He is survived by his wife, Mary, his 5 children, 12 grandchildren, and 6 great-grandchildren. Melvin Grant, retired GUHSD administrator, passed away on September 19th, 2013 at the age of 92. Melvin started working for the district in 1954 as a vice principal at Helix High School. In 1954, he became the first principal of Mount Miguel High School. After 27 years of service, Melvin Grant retired as an adult school principal in 1981. He was a Gold Star member of the East County, California Retired Teachers Association. And Gordon, or Gordy as he was known, Shields, was a retired GUHSD counselor, passed away on June 30th, 2013 at the age of 95. Gordy began his career with the district at Grossmont High School as a counselor. He was an avid bike rider and won many awards throughout his teaching career. Gordy was a Gold Star member of the East County, California Teachers Association. Please join me in a moment of silence for Russell Yeager, Daryl Downs, Melvin Grant, and Gordy Shields. Thank you. Please be seated. And now I call upon Ryan Pena to read the GUHSD vision statement.
The Grossmont Union High School District is dedicated to providing a safe and collaborative learning environment which supports academic achievement and social development for all students. The Grossmont District operates on the premise that success for every student is dependent upon all groups in the organization, including teachers, administrators, parents, staff, students, and the community, to working together to support all students in their development as lifelong learners, thinkers, and successful contributors to the community.
Thank you, Ryan. Now for the very best part of every one of our board meetings is the awards and recognitions, and we have 2 outstanding recipients here tonight that we're going to honor right now. If we could have the board and the superintendent join us on this side of the dais. And I call upon Jan Brennan to help us with the first presentation. Great, thank you.
President Kelly, members of the board, Superintendent Swenson, cabinet members, and esteemed colleagues. Tonight, we honor our first classified employee of the 2013-14 school year, whose extraordinary service to the students of the district deserves extra special recognition. May I introduce Paul Dautremont and Deborah Avery, who will introduce Matt Nelson, lead groundskeeper at West Hills High School, our first honored employee of the 2013-14 school year. Debbie?
Thank you. I'd like to read my letter that I wrote to nominate Matt. Matt Nelson started with the Grossmont Union High School District in March of 1996 with 18 years of total service. During this time, he worked as a lead grounds, and a gardener with a trail of praise from all those he worked with. Anyone you speak to about Matt has nothing but the highest regard for his strong work ethic. Matt, West Hills High School's lead grounds, has been with us for 6 years, and he came to us after being moved from a gardener position. It was hard for him to get moved out of a position, but it was great for West Hills High School. Being on a campus with 73 acres and 1,000 trees, we needed someone with the knowledge that Matt brought with him to keep the park-like atmosphere that we love at West Hills High School. Matt never once seemed to mind being here under the circumstances as to which he came to us, and he shows every day how much he loves his job. Given a complex problem, Matt has the ability to find solutions that work best for our campus. Currently, he's implementing a new irrigation plan that will help save the grass at West Hills High School after we've had issues with our new well. He spends many hours, including weekends, implementing this new plan. And we're very fortunate that he possesses the knowledge for us and able to do that. The diligence and dedication demonstrated by Matt has been noticed by all staff at West Hills High School. We have all noticed the enthusiasm and the extra hours he puts in to assure our campus is the best it can be. He has spent many hours, including weekends, assisting students and community for the betterment of West Hills High School. As the MSF at West Hills High School, I've never had to micromanage Matt. He's motivated and takes initiative to ensure everything from trimming the trees to the sports fields that are ready for the teams when they need them. He keeps himself very busy and always has time when asked with other projects, no matter how big or how small. I know with confidence that we are in great hands with Matt, and I feel he deserves the honor of being classified Employee of the Quarter. Thank you, Matt.
I just want to quickly add, you heard what Debbie said, that Matt spends a lot of time on the campus, and I know his wife Maria is here with us this evening, so I do want to thank Maria for letting us take Matt away. I know what it's a sacrifice on your part as well. And I've been very fortunate. I worked with Matt now at 2 different sites, Elkhorn Valley High School and West Hills, and coming to West Hills and finding out that Matt was the lead groundsman, I knew that we were going to be in really good shape. And it's been a pleasure to work with him. So thank you.
Well, Matt, this is truly an honor to present this to you on behalf of the board and the superintendent of the district. Just think of that. The #1 classified employee in the district. What an honor. I mean, how many classified? We have like 1,200 classified employees, and he's #1. So what a testimony to your work ethic and going above and beyond, your job duties. So we're proud of you. Thank you for being a blessing to West Hills and to the entire district, and congratulations. Very much. Please join us for a picture. Very good.
Just thank you for the award.
We have another very special award this evening, which is not on the agenda. The Governing Board would like to honor and recognize GUHSD and San Diego County Teacher of the Year from Santana High School, Eileen Bagrizzo, who was just selected to represent the county. So Tim Schwoko, principal at Santana, will introduce Eileen tonight.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Tim Schwoko, the principal at Santana High School. And standing with me is a very special individual, Eileen Bagrizzo. She teaches English at Santana High School and coaches swim. And I can tell you, you all know how valuable teachers are, and the County of San Diego recognizes all of these teachers. Saturday night, she was selected amongst over 20,000 teachers in our county to be one of 5 individuals to represent our county. And it's just such an honor to know that Santana High School and our district has the quality of teachers that we have. And so I'm going to ask Ms. Bagrizzo just say a few words, and then she can get a picture.
Thank you very much. It is such an honor to represent Santana in the Grossmont District, and I'd like to thank Superintendent Swenson for coming on Saturday night. It was really nice having you there, and the whole administration team from Santana. And I've been at Santana for 24 years, and I've always been so proud to say that I am a teacher at Santana. And me representing the school and the district at the county level just gives me an opportunity to share all the wonderful things that are going on in our school and in our district. And a lot of that comes from the leadership of our principal, Tim Schwoko, so I'd like to thank him as well. So, thank you.
Hang on just for a second. Eileen, all I can say is, wow, you know you're in the thin air. I mean, you're way, 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 way up there, right? Wherever the top is, you're like right there. So congratulations. What can I add to that? You're one of 5 of 20,000 teachers. I was so excited when I read that in the papers that you got this award. We're so proud of you.
Thank you very much.
So congratulations, and
Thank
please
you.
join us for a picture.
Okay, thank you very
Right over
much.
there.
Take about 3 steps forward. We'll give these guys a chance to. You're too tall. You can do regular. There you go.
Oh,
You're going this way.
Okay.
Oops. Yeah, I'm in. Okay. This is the hard part, is remembering this.
By the way, with those who came with Eileen, raise your hand, the family and friends of Eileen. Are they here? Oh, they just left. Rats. I should have. Okay. And then also Matt. Is any of Matt's relatives or friends here? I heard his wife Maria was here. Did she leave? Okay, good. They're probably out there celebrating. But anyways, we're really proud of the whole families. Also, I have to say this. What is going on with Santana? Those guys are on fire. I just see, man, they're at the top when it comes to test scores. I mean, right, almost at the extreme top of the district. Teacher of the year. And you know, I've been to the campus a couple times this year, just touring. And every single staff member I talk to, they brag about Tim, their principal, their leader. And every one of them tells me how absolutely happy they are, whether Tim was with me or not. You know, sometimes Tim walks around with me for a few minutes, and then I'm on my own. He just points me where I should probably go. But I am so proud of the Santana campus. It is just fantastic. And well, I could go on. And of course, our student board rep is from Santana.
We almost forgot that.
Yeah, I mean, look at it, it continues. All right, so this was great.
I think we ought to be fair to all our schools.
And of course, there's a former teacher from Santana on the board. So we're just very proud of them. Okay, now we've got a number of cards for people who want to make a public comment. Does anybody here who hasn't filled out a card want to make a public comment? Okay, beautiful. We need to have you fill out a card and give it to Tracy at the end of this dais, who's raising her hand right there. So now's the time to make your move. We got time to squeeze you in. Okay, procedures for receiving, I almost said refusing communication from the public. Yeah, let's just get this. Okay, members of the public who wish to speak to an item on or not on the agenda must file a speaker card indicating name and agenda item or subject to be addressed, and present the card to Tracy McDonald at the end of the dais, and she will deliver them to the board secretary, Jeanette, right beside me. Pursuant to Board Bylaw 9323, comment from the public on agenda items will be heard for 30 minutes, or if necessary, at the conclusion of the business meeting, speakers will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to give public comment. A green light will be displayed on a podium for the first 2 minutes and 30 seconds. A yellow light will be displayed for the final 30 seconds, and a red light means you're through. And don't make me come there after you. Okay, now, are we going to do the yellows or blues first? Okay, we'll do the yellows first. Yeah, just the way you set them up. Okay, and I'll announce the first three, so if the ones who are, on deck or in the batter circle can go up there, so we can get quickly to you when it's your turn. Okay, we have our friend Nick Marinovich. Did I pronounce that correctly, Nick?
Perfect.
Okay, and then it's going to be followed by Robert W. Muschek. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Right.
Okay, you're second, and then third will be Mitchell Muehlman. Did I pronounce that right, Mitchell?
Yeah, you did great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Nick, welcome, and
Welcome.
please begin.
Is this on?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Before I start, I want to, every once a month I have to go to another school board meeting, and this is a real contrast. I want to compliment you, the civility and the cordial nature in which the meetings are handled, which is really it's a good thing, because I just want to give you a compliment before I raise my issues, I guess. I guess there's some kind of strategy. So I wanted to reiterate some of the comments, and these are coming from Nick Marinovich as an individual. I am a member of the Bond Oversight Committee, though our Bond Oversight Committee has discussed the issue of debt in the district. And from virtually the moment that I became a member of the committee and started looking at the data, I became concerned that in light of the year 2013 and what's happening in this world, that the district was being too aggressive in terms of their approach to issuing debt in light of the current real estate market, recent past, and perhaps in the near future. So I understand this $40 million process that you're starting today is pretty much a fait accompli, it looks like. But I think in the future, and even in today, you might want to consider, do I really want to do $40 million? That's still, I guess, an option. But what I'm asking you as a board and as somebody who follows bond oversight closely, that you consider where you're going in the future, the amount of debt that you're issuing relative to the projected assessed value and the risk associated with being too aggressive in issuing debt. Because it was somewhat alarming to me when I went back and had data provided to me for Proposition H, which was passed in, I believe, 2004, and there was a tax rate of $27 per $100,000 of assessed value maximum that was believed to be assessed. Well, you're $35 and change per $100,000 assessed value, which is quite a bit above what the voters approved. That alone is some of an indication that the district's historic decisions were perhaps too aggressive in issuing debt. The audit subcommittee of which I sit on will be looking at this issue of amount of growth in the district, where the future is going, what our debt capacity is, and the amount. If you can't issue much debt in the future, you may want to rethink what your project priorities are presently before you make those project decisions as well. Finally, As you know, the recent legislation passed AB 182, the capital appreciation bond legislation that limits. One of the concerns about that legislation was that districts would assume that the 4.0 cap ratio will become the standard. And in looking at your financial advisor's study, that's exactly what they did, which is another pause for concern about the bond program. We're here to help. I just have a concern. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, Robert. Oh, thank you. And then Mitchell, if you wouldn't mind standing a little bit behind, oh, is he there? Okay, good. All right, thank you. Go ahead, Robert.
Hi, good evening. I'm here in support of a proposal to rename our social science building at Monte Vista in honor of Sam Rearick, a colleague who passed away last winter. Sam and I taught together for nearly 20 years at Monte Vista, and he was a very big part of our community at the school. Not only was he a social science member that taught every class we seemed to have there, from AP Government down to Introduction to Geography, but he also stepped up and chaired our WASC committee. He stepped up and sponsored several classes when there was a need for an advisor. He supported all the charities that we ran on campus. He was frequently one of the first ones out to support the multicultural fair, to buy lumpia, to buy extra food that was left, and he was a big part of the fabric of our school. Sam really believed strongly in a community sense of what a high school could offer. I was very proud that we were colleagues for 20 years, or nearly 20 years, in the time that he was there, and he was very proud of his roots at Monte Vista. He was a Mount Miguel graduate himself, but Monte Vista was his school, and he looked forward to every football game, which he attended most of. He went to wrestling matches. He supported the students in plays. He went to concerts. He went to dance shows. I mean, Sam was really what I think a community of learners is really supposed to be beyond just the classroom. He was an outstanding teacher as well, but Sam really thought that the school could serve in a variety of capacities, and he supported our students in just about everything. This would mean a lot to Sam. He wouldn't be here to brag about it himself, but he would think this a great honor to his memory, because it was proposed by a peer. And Sam thought of himself as a professional educator. He was well read. He shared much of what he knew with his students. He worked on their skills, and to him, this would be a big honor to him, you know, if he were here to speak for himself. Again, as an educator, what better honor can you have than to have your peers not only nominate you for something like this, but then sign a petition that would rename a building in your honor? I don't know that this is something that's done at other campuses. I haven't seen other buildings with names of teachers on them, but I think this is a great precedent maybe to set for people who have contributed greatly to schools, and I think Sam has done that at Monte Vista. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And also speaking on this issue is Randy Montesanto will be after Mitchell.
Great. I'll try not to break the microphone. Sometimes I project a little too much. I'm going to talk about Sam as a human being. And I want to thank the board for giving me the opportunity to speak. He's one of the most complete individuals I ever knew. Usually when you know somebody, you can find one or two nice things to say about them, right? And they can be really good people. But, you know, the example I use, you could say a guy's a really good teacher and a nice guy, or he's a dedicated friend and a good father, but you omit the part about his moods or the fights he had with his wife. Sam was just a complete individual. He was great at his job. The kids loved him. He was a loyal friend. His mood was always upbeat. He was the kind of guy that elevated all of us and gave us a higher standard to shoot for. I was really proud of him. He served, he was a Marine, and I have a picture of him in my room, and the kids always ask me, who is that? I said, it's the better angel. It's somebody I always try to live up to. He made everybody around him a better person through the love he gave them and the examples he set. And what was really touching to me is I inherited all Sam's AP students. He had them as juniors in AP US History. I got him the next year in AP Econ. And when he became ill, I said, it'd be really nice if you guys wrote letters to Sam. I had 100 students write letters to him, okay, that were invaluable to him and I know really lifted his spirits. When he became more seriously ill, the same students wrote very touching letters to his mother, his father, his wife, and his 3 boys. So what the students did says everything you need to know about Sam as a human being. What I think is so important about it, and I wanted to just address this, renaming the building in favor of Sam goes way beyond honoring Sam, okay? I mean, I love that thought. I love the man. I love the individual. But I want people to ask, who's that guy? Why is that name up there, okay? And I want new teachers and students who come in every year to say, why is that name up there? And we can say, and here's basically what I said, it represents loyalty, commitment, compassion, and a dedication to excellence, a dedication to be the best we can be, more of a beacon than anything. And I really thank the board for giving me the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Randy Montesano. And Randy will be followed by Felix. And Rosemarie and Janice, in that order.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Randy Montesano. I am the principal at Monte Vista High School. I've been here for almost 4 years now. And I'm proud to say that not only am I the principal, now as Sam's boss, Sam and I were friends. We got to run for 3 days a week at 5 o'clock in the morning at a time when, I'll be honest with you, I was kind of overloaded being a high school principal, and the stress level was hitting me hard. And Sam said, you got to come out and go for a run with us. That's going to help you out a little bit. And for the last 3 years, up until Sam got really sick, we did that 3 days a week. And we almost never talked about school. It was everything else. It was our families and our kids and the dogs. And I learned more from that guy than I know from almost anybody I've ever met in my life. And I know that naming a building after somebody, we save that kind of stuff for extraordinary people in cases. This was Sam. And just like Mitch said, I want everybody in 10, 15 years to look at that building and go, and we get to tell the story of who that was, because that is who Monte Vista is. Caring, compassionate, we take care of ourselves, we take care of others, we work hard, and we just do the very best we can. That was Sam Rarick. So thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Randy. You can't say too much good things about Sam Rarick. Oh, yes. Felix Motesi? Motesi. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask the board on the sale of the property that the Grossmont District owns. Is this property going to be sold to the person who owns the 14 acres? We live at 667 Murray Drive. Our backyard extends to the area of the 14 acres in question. And to remind you that 2.5 years ago, we went before the City Council and Planning Commission, and they refused the person who owns that property to develop it. And I'm wondering if the sale of this property is going to extend to this agency an entrance to the property.
Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. Can we answer that question? Yeah, Mr. Patterson?
We're not able to offer it directly to an individual for sale. We have to go through a process whereby we offer it to other public entities like Parks and Rec and surrounding cities and basically every other public agency there is out there. If there are no takers in that regard, we engage in a public auction where all bidders can come forward and the high bidder will win. So again, we can't offer it directly to an individual or one particular agency.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, Rosemarie McLean, welcome.
Thank you. Yes, I would also like to address the purchase or the sale of the property there on Murray Drive. When I moved to Murray Drive in 1967, that whole area was supposed to be an open space area, was one of the reasons why we moved there, because we weren't moving into a very congested residential type of an area. There was open space around us, and I'm at 881, so I'm 3 doors up as you come up the hill from Murray Drive. Many people have received the letters. I was shocked that myself and my neighbors on each side did not receive a notice of this situation there. I'm also aware that my backyard is very unstable. My hill, at its whim, moves all over the place. And that concerns me when I read in someone else's letter that classrooms wouldn't be a place for classrooms. Except for an open space kind of area, I don't know that they could put any building there, any developer there, because that area, I know when I was at Grossmont High School, I'm the class of 53, the first one from Helix, by the way. They always used to tease us and say, hey, you guys, it's your fault up there. So that tells us a little something without me going into details, not being a dirt person. But anyway, whatever happens there concerns me mainly with the traffic situation and the kids coming out of school and going to school. That's the Indy 500, the first week of school at Grossmont High School. And we as residents understand that, we put up with it, and we know it's just a temporary thing. But I'm really concerned. I really hope that you as a board will seek out a public entity that will go in there and perhaps work that area so that it's not a commercialized type of a situation where they're moving in great big transports loaded with cars and clanging with chains. And, you know, Fletcher Hills was the jewel of El Cajon, and then something happened. Just on my 2-mile walk, I counted 8 abandoned cars in people's driveways, rusting away. It just breaks my heart because we moved up there because of its beauty. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And on the same issue, Janice Motisi.
My husband addressed.
Okay, thank you. And then we have 3 more. Tom Varello will speak about AB 1266. Chris Laurie will speak about Proposition U bond, and Dr. Albert Haven will speak about Alpine. Welcome.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I'm here to talk about a law that the governor recently signed, Assembly Bill 1266. It's fairly short, the language, but it has profound implications for all of us. A pupil shall be permitted to participate in sex-segregated school programs and activities, including athletic teams and competitions, and use facilities consistent with his or her gender identity, irrespective of the gender listed on the pupil's records. So legally, as I understand it, and as it's been explained, that gender identity is something the pupil can choose on their whim at any particular moment. So basically, that means the boys can use the girls' facilities and the girls can use the boys' facilities. This is law. It's not speculation. It's going to go in force in January. I know it takes time to develop thoughtful policy. It's not easy, and this doesn't sound like an easy one. I don't know what the solution would be, but I'm a parent. I have 2 sons and 2 daughters in the district, and I'm concerned for all 4 of them. And I don't know if you all know about this, but I want you to be aware of it, because if I was in your place, I would rather not think about this and rather not deal with it. But it's a big district, we've got a lot of students, and it would be much better if we had a policy and procedures and had been thought out and talked out rather than waiting for something to happen. I can't, it's really difficult to figure out what more to say about this. To me, it's astonishing that I'd even be here mentioning this. So I wanted to put it out there as a parent so that we're not, sitting hoping for someone else to solve this problem for us. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, Chris Laurie?
Mr. Kelly, can Al Haven go before me, please?
Sure. Dr. Haven, welcome.
Good evening, Honorable Board, Mr. Superintendent, distinguished Cabinet. I appeared before you a couple of months ago to introduce myself and my colleague as the chief petitioners on the Alpine unification petition. We've received no response from the district to discuss the matter in any way whatsoever. I'm here tonight as a courtesy to inform you in a timely manner that the unification petitions will be filed with the county superintendent a few days from now. We view this as a solution to an irreconcilable differences. You as a board have seen your responsibility to accommodate the benefit of the 95% of the district population over the needs of the 5% representing Alpine kids. To you, Alpine is a 5% problem. To us, it's a 100% problem. Now, so this is similar to a no-fault divorce. Neither party is to blame, but it's impossible to continue joined together. We will be proposing a fair and equitable division of property to receive our fair share of district assets under the terms of Education Code 35560. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Laurie, welcome. Thank you.
I spoke to Trustee Hoy last month about the grand jury response and about the bond program as it relates to Alpine Unification. And after I explained myself, he encouraged me to bring this forward, and so I'm here tonight to do so. The graph that you have there is all data just taken from Loop Capital's report. I put it in I'm going to call it a dumbed-down version. The red line is going to just represent the amount of tax revenue that you're going to collect at $27.90 per 100,000 based on AV growth in the modeling. And what I want to make sure everybody understands, and I don't know that everybody does, the revenue collection from Grossmont is going to be at $27.90 per 100,000. It's not to make the debt payment. An agreement was made with the county to collect at $27.90, even if the debt was lower than the need to collect $27.90. There is a reserve right now at the county, based on my conversation with them last year, of about $7 million of excess taxes collected under Prop U while Prop U was staging up, okay? The blue line on this just represents the current debt load, so the difference between the blue and the red will be filled in by your green. That's the $40 million bond. And purple, you're not going to see any purple because your bonding program is what they would call efficient, and that means that it's zero in the incoming years. The purple is going to represent your capacity. You'll have no more capacity after this bond is issued to issue any more debt other than cabs. So effectively, your capacity will not recover until 2026, and it only recovers if AV growth is sustainable as modeled. Therefore, all future bonds issued prior to 2026 will necessarily be cabs. Given that the debt is at capacity after this bond, the Grossmont future bonding capacity would substantially be impacted by Alpine Unification. You may be able to tie us to the current debt load, but I wouldn't count on tying us to the future debt that's going to be exerted. You have to deduct 6% out of the AV. And that will impact those cabs. And I'm just asking you guys to model it. Be prepared from a cash flow standpoint, because the bond program is already very unstable and it's going to get worse. Don't wait till you do that kind of planning. An aggressive bond sale, pending board approval for the fall 2013, that sells to capacity, executed on the eve of unification, leaves Grossmont trustees with no flexibility to deal with unknowns. Should Alpine successfully unify while Grossmont spends through bond proceeds as planned and approved by the trustees, the East County taxpayers could be forced to finance a settlement using cabs and or face a tax rate that exceeds $27.90 that was authorized by the voters under Prop U. This risk can be partially mitigated if GUSD trustees consider delaying or downsizing the 2000 bond sale and reprioritizing bond projects that reflect 2013 financial realities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Laurie. Next, public report of action taken in closed session in accordance with Government Code 54957.1 and 54957.9. I call upon Member Hoy to report on closed session. There you go.
In closed session, the governing board took action to appoint Dan McDowell as Director 2 Instructional Technology, effective on or about October 15th, 2013. The roll call vote was 5 yes, 0 no. In closed session, the governing board took action to approve a 10-day suspension for certificated employee 300-792. Roll call was 5 yes, 0 no. In closed session, this is under student matters. In closed session, the governing board reviewed the findings of facts which were presented by the staff on student matters. As a result, I recommend the following actions. I move to approve the stipulated expulsions in cases 1 and 2 and to revoke the expulsion in case number 1.
Okay, I have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, any discussion? Now, Mrs. Schreiber, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to have you start every vote tonight. So please vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes 5-0. That was excellent. Hopefully we can stay on this roll. Okay. Approval of minutes of governing board meetings for the regular governing board meeting of September 12th, 2013. Do I have a motion second to approve the minutes?
So move. Second.
Second? Please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, sorry.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye again.
Okay, aye. Passes 5-0.
That was my fault, sorry.
Okay, I got to slow down here for a second. Oh, okay. I skipped the approval of the agenda. Okay, so let's go back to number 7. I need a motion and a second to vote to approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
Second. Are we ready to vote? Oh, we have a deletion. No corrections or changes, no supplements, but one deletion. 10D, Governing Board consideration of exception to Board Bylaw 2200.
9200.
Okay.
9200. Jim.
Okay, 9200. Okay, thank you. 9200. Are we ready to vote? Mr. Shriver, please vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes 5-0. Now we're going to 8B, Special Governing Board meeting of September 17th, 2013. I need a motion and second to approve the minutes.
So move.
Second.
Please vote.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, passes 5-0. Now for informational reports, discussions, public hearings. Let's go to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. We have a brief superintendent's report this evening. I want to focus on the theme of the report that I shared with you a week ago in your board materials that came out in the Weber on the 2011 report from Harvard University titled Pathways to Prosperity. The focus of that report was trying to find ways for schools to meet the challenge of preparing our graduates to be successful in lives in the 21st century. I've taken just a few excerpts out of that, and I want to tie it to some of the things that are going on in our district today and some issues that we're facing here in the near future. I agree with the statement that it's a fundamental obligation that society has to prepare young adults to lead productive and prosperous lives as adults. You can read the rest. But I really think that sometimes our focus in schools historically has been on preparing graduates to be graduates and to go on and maybe go to a university or whatever that might be without really focusing on what is it we can do to help them become successful in their lives beyond those years that immediately follow high school. A group called the Partnership for 21st Century Skills, which includes Microsoft, Apple, Cisco, Pearson, and a lot of other major modern corporations, has been critical of the obsolete and outmoded approaches to education. It calls for us to focus on 21st century skills, critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, and communication, which fortunately also line up with much of the emphasis in the newly adopted Common Core standards. In 1973, which is, by the way, the year I graduated from high school, so I'm not one of the 1/3 of the nation's 91 million workers who were high school dropouts, but that was the statistic in 1973. Another 40% of them had not progressed beyond a high school degree. So it's almost 70%, 72% I think it is, of the 91 million workers in our country in 1973 were either high school dropouts or held only a high school degree. People with a high school education made up that 72%, as I just mentioned, and manufacturing was still a dominant aspect of the economy at that time, and it was possible for those with less education and a strong work ethic to earn a middle-class wage, as 60% of high school graduates did. Now we go ahead to the year 2007, and the data from that year looks a little bit different. The workforce has grown by 70%. There are now 154 million workers in our country. Those with a high school education or less among that workforce has shrunk to just 41%. So what was 72% is now 41%. The total number of jobs in America has grown by 63 million. The number of jobs held by people with no post-secondary education of any kind has fallen by 2 million. Over the past 30 years, all of our net job growth has been generated by jobs that require at least some post-secondary education. And if you take a look at that graphically, on the left you see the breakdown from 73, on the right you see 2007. Just focus on the bottom two pillars. The 40 and the 32 of the high school grads and the dropouts from 1973 has shrunk now to 41%. And if you look at the top end of it, you'll see that those with master's degrees, bachelor's degrees, associate degrees, and some college make up a very large percentage of today's workforce. And I think that's where you start to get into the conversation of not just talking to students, high school students, middle school students, elementary school students, that the one goal is to go on and get that four-year university degree, but the idea that everybody needs to think about something in terms of training beyond high school. And I think we as schools need to sort of shape what we're doing to help broaden that focus a little bit. Career technical education, it used to be called vocational education, it's called different things in different countries, is something that a lot of parents think is for someone else's kids. And the fact of the matter is it's for a whole lot of kids. And if you take a look at our newly adopted goals and objectives from last January, as a district, we're committing to the concept of all of our graduates being both college and career ready. The Georgetown Center on Education Workforce forecasts that in this current decade, the one we're in the middle of right now, most job openings will not require a bachelor's degree or a degree beyond that. There'll be 47 million job openings this decade, many of which will be replacements for workers who retired or quit working. 63% of those openings will require some college education or better, and nearly half will only require an AA degree or less. Virtually all of these sub-BA jobs will require the kinds of real-world skills students master in career and technical education, including positions in nursing, health technology, commercial construction, manufacturing, and natural resources. One of the things that's interesting is only 40% of 27-year-olds in America today have earned an AA degree or higher. That means that 60% of our 27-year-olds in our country right now are ill-positioned for the jobs that are being created. I think that as schools we need to start seriously reflecting on what it is we're doing to help our graduates change those numbers. Here in our district, we're part of the San Diego Link Learning Collaborative. We partnered with the Educational Synergy Project to attract some private funding support for career pathways in our district. There's an event coming up on October 24th, and at this point I know that Board Member Hoy is going to, has agreed to represent the board and attend this event. It's starting at 7:30 in the morning at Kearney High School.
7:30?
Yeah, it's 7:30 in the morning. Maybe we forgot to tell you what time it starts. There's a breakfast meeting. Tom Torlakson, the State Superintendent of Public Instruction, will be there. There'll be a press conference announcing the release of the RFP for the California Career Pathways Trust Funds. AB 86 provides $250 million under that plan to go out to consortia and partnerships like the collaborative that we are part of, and we're anxious to see what part of that funding might come to our district. In our district, our CTE pathways are offered at all of our high schools. So we have 39 different pathways in almost every one of the industry sectors that CTE has identified. We update that curriculum on an annual basis, and last year almost 5,000 students in our district participated in a CTE program. It is interesting to note, see if I can get this, under LCFF, there's an expectation for what's called a maintenance of effort for this year and next year in terms of the monies we spend on ROP. In the most current year, that number is about $5.8 million. Beyond the 14-15 school year, however, funding for that, those programs is very uncertain, because under LCFF, schools are supposed to replace that funding with what is called the, they did some math to figure out how much they're spending currently on CTE in California, and it's $219 a pupil. The problem is that, like in LCFF with everything else, that is the goal that we are going to get to in 2021. This year, for instance, we are only getting 12% of that $219, which is roughly $26 a student. Next year, that might go up to as high as $35 to $50 a student, still far short of the $219. So we're really looking at needing to hang on to our OP funding and finding some way to continue that into the future. But we do, I just want to alert the board to something that has developed just in the last 2 weeks, and that's the last bullet on this screen. The county superintendent of schools notified the superintendents from the 42 districts across the county that he intends to take action to withhold 25% of our ROP allocation next year, even when we are required under law to maintain our level of effort. For us, that's a hit of about $1.5 million. And we are not happy about that.
Based on what? 'Cause
Based
he
on a
wants it?
decision that he's making unilaterally, to be honest with you, at this point. So,
Does he have a reason?
I can't answer that question. I haven't gotten a good answer to it when I've asked the very same question. So let me tell you what has happened. Just this week, 18 superintendents and chief business officials from 18 different districts in the county met. We have scheduled a meeting with the county superintendent for next Wednesday morning. We're going to tell him, ask him to reconsider this decision and make sure that the money continues to flow to the districts in San Diego County. And depending on his response, we will then determine our next step of action at that point. So I just wanted to bring you up to speed on it. We really believe that these are essential programs. We think we're at a point in time where we need to expand them, continue to support them, make them better than they have been previously. And it is disturbing to think about the fact that somebody is trying to direct that money into other types of activities at the county level. That concludes my report.
Thank you. And next, for the Student Representative Board report, Ryan, do you have a report?
Yes, but it's very brief.
Oh, please, go ahead. Take all the time you need.
So, just main things. Homecomings are in full swing. I know a couple schools already had theirs, and Santana's will actually be next Friday. If anybody would like to attend, it should be very, very cool. Other than that, just SATs are also in full swing. I just had mine not this past weekend, but the weekend before. And college applications also October 1st, so students very busy with all of that. But that is everything that I have.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Next is a Governing Board President's Report. I had planned to give a report tonight, but I'm going to postpone it to give a full report next month. Okay, the monthly report to the Governing Board by the Proposition H and U Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. I call upon excellent Chairperson Nancy Herbst to report. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good evening, board members. It's always a privilege to stand before you and have our presentation on the CBOC. At our September meeting, the CBOC was giving a presentation by Jason Richer of Loop Capital on the bond financing issues pertaining to the next bond issuance. After some discussion, the CBOC voted to support the board's approval of the 2013 Series E capital interest bond issuance. However, the CBOC will provide further review and analysis of the Loop Capital financial models as presented to this board and the CBOC. The Steering and Planning Subcommittee presented its recommendation to dissolve the Communications Subcommittee and reassign those individuals to the remaining subcommittees. Work formerly done by the Communications Subcommittee, such as the annual report, would be accomplished by an ad hoc committee on an as-needed basis or assigned to another subcommittee as appropriate. The subcommittee's recommendation was based on the need to strengthen the remaining subcommittees. For example, the Steering and Planning Subcommittee had only 2 members. It was also thought that the ad hoc committee appointed for purposes of preparing the annual report would ideally have a member from each of the remaining subcommittees, making it a more streamlined process to include information feedback from each of the subcommittees. This motion was unanimously approved and the subcommittee has been dissolved. Mike Stewart has agreed to serve on the Audit and Financing Subcommittee. Jan Canal now sits on the Steering and Planning Subcommittee, bringing both those subcommittees now to 3 members. And Jeff Wilson, who will be terming out next month, has agreed to lead the ad hoc committee and will not be reassigned to a subcommittee at this time. Last month, you requested the CBOC make a recommendation as to language to amend its bylaws to permit members to serve a 3rd term. Upon an approved motion, the CBOC agreed to recommend that Section 4.01 of the CBOC bylaws to be revised as follows. The committee shall consist of at least 7 members who shall be appointed by the board to serve for a term of 2 years without compensation and for no more than 3, change from 2, consecutive terms, and then they added language, as authorized under Education Code Section 15285A. This language also matches what's on your agenda for this evening. The CBOC recently received a request from a freelance reporter to respond to a set of questions in support of his intent to submit an article surrounding the 12th high school. In response, an ad hoc committee was formed to review, consider, and respond to the request. Nick Marinovich and I have agreed to serve on that ad hoc committee with the assistance from the CBOC's consultant and its resource volunteer. This construction subcommittee reported on the change orders as well as the status of the repairs of the old gym floor at Grossmont. There was also discussion about the possible threat to the ROP funding, which the superintendent mentioned, regarding the county's Board of Education position that they can retain ROP funds under the local control funding formula. The subcommittee will continue to monitor the situation and how, if it may, it affect the construction projects. This completes the CBOC's report. Do you have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Okay, now report to the governing board regarding Proposition H and U status. I call upon excellent Katie Wright, program coordinator.
Good evening, members of the board.
Do y'all hear that?
Yep.
Okay.
I see it.
Welcome. Please begin whenever
Thanks.
you're ready.
Thanks so much. Since our last report to you in July, we've continued about a $3 million a month expenditure rate and hope to pick that up soon. We've got a number of projects that are just getting into full swing. The auto shop at Grossmont is coming along, as you can see here. I think we're looking for a spring completion, as well as the tennis courts. The final 4 courts, bringing them up to 10, are underway now, and those will be ready for use in December after the concrete cure, so that's in good shape there. You have on your Helix PAC, substantially complete with the current contractor in place. We've had some, simply some problems with this contractor. We've got a notice of completion filed. We're looking to move them off. There's some problems, issues, primarily architectural and engineering errors that we want to correct with another vendor, and so that's on your agenda this evening. Next week, we're going to demo the 70-year-old PE building at El Cajon, so that's a little lovely before. You can see why we want to demo it. So taking its place by next year will be a brand new one, starting with the demo next week. Merritt Academy, as you probably know, opened in time for school start, and we're real pleased with that. Chaparral, well underway, just to the north of the, I think it's north of the Merritt site, is the CTE project. Grading's underway. We've had some unexpected dirty dirt, some soils issues. We're in with DTSC, so we're working around that. We've actually removed the soils and stockpiling them until we can get a resolution on that, but that's moving ahead. PE building under construction at El Cap. We did have a contractor break some pipes. There was some leakage, damage the floor. We got a new floor out of the deal. Not a new floor, but repair and then a totally, refurbished. So that's about a $100,000 oops that turned out good for us. District office, remember the original completion date was December. We've had lots and lots and lots of unforeseen conditions. We're going to push that back to February. I wanted to outline for you a little bit about the change orders, largely unforeseen. In fact, the portion of the potential change orders there at the bottom, the 31%, most of that's structural. All of the unforeseen essentially is structural. You can't foresee it, obviously. When you open the building up, that's when you find the problem. So we're at a substantial change order rate on our way to 13%, which is way higher than normal. So between 6 and 10% on a mod is somewhat reasonable, but this is higher that due to the age of the building and what was just there behind the walls and 90-year-old construction. So that also pushed the date back, obviously. Before you this evening, as you well know, is the bond sale. These are the projects that we want to move ahead with on the bond sale, or under this particular one. We have projects that are in design and what we assume will be construction, assuming the bond sale, and then those that would just be in the design. This list we call the salmon list. It's in one of our definitions. Was formulated at the time we were assuming $40 million and not much in state money. We have state money on the horizon, and the great news is that horizon's getting closer. There's been a number of state sales, so we're expecting to have that pot fill up a little bit more, and we want to work that through the process of how to add projects to this list through the board bond subcommittee and of course the CBOC and those discussions. So we're excited about that opportunity. Just a couple more things. We've had some good media coverage, San Diego Business Journal and a number of the other local papers. So that's been our external media coverage. We want to initiate a monthly newsletter, an internal media document, internal project list and such for CBOC, and some of the lists that you see there on the right. I don't think we communicate as well as we could, so we're going to fix that. Tonight, also, you have the amendment to the specifications. You saw the presentation last month. We've talked to the CBOC, and your document tonight is just the conclusion of that cycle. And lastly, Prop 39, the rules have come out for that. Remember, the district qualifies for about $1.1 million. We'll get that in early next year, and so we're developing a 5-year project list. We'll get that $1.1 million annually for 5 years to do energy projects. So it's a great opportunity, and we're right in there on that. And West Hills, all the old 25-year-old air conditioning units on that campus seem to be a good candidate for the first project for that. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions or comments by board members? Thank you so much, Katie.
Thank you.
Now, the fourth quarter and end-of-year report to the governing board regarding district legal costs. I call upon Deputy Superintendent Scott Patterson.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. You have before you the report of the fourth quarter costs incurred in the legal area. For the fourth quarter, the district expended $139,000 in legal costs. That brings the total for the year to $609,000. In comparing that to the prior year, even after normalizing out significant one-time activity for real estate legal support, that represents a 20% improvement from last year. It coincidentally brings us back in line with the level of expenditures we were seeing before last year, and we'll continue to work on that trend and again try to be very judicious in our use of legal costs. So that concludes my report.
Any questions on that? Mr. Hoy, I don't think that hurts your feelings at all that the district saved 20% from last year.
Absolutely.
I hope we can do that again next year. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Scott. Now for action items and public hearings and discussions. First one is the governing board was going to interview Alex Tank to fill the parent-at-large vacancy on the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee for Proposition H and U. I call upon Deputy Superintendent Scott Patterson to introduce Alex Tank, parent-at-large, applicant for the CBOC, and I request that Mr. Tank come to the podium to be interviewed.
Yes,
Welcome.
we do appreciate Mr. Tank's application to represent the category of parent-at-large, and Mr. Tank stands before you and ready to address the board's questions.
Thank you, Mr. Tank. We're going to each take turns asking you a question. Unfortunately, you're limited to 1 minute to answer each question.
Sure.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Good luck.
Excuse me, Derek, I have a question.
Go ahead, please.
Are we asking the questions right now?
Yes, we're going to start right now.
Okay, typically in the past, we've allowed our candidates to do a 2-minute introduction of themselves.
Would you like to give an introduction?
Sure, absolutely. I live in La Mesa for about 7 years. My son goes in a Grossmont High. My younger son is in a Northmont Elementary, so eventually going to go in a Grossmont High. The motivation I have why I want to serve in the CBOC, I truly believe that my son is doing fantastic, and I have a moral obligation to give back to the community. So I've been working with the company for Motel 6 about 8 years. I'm an active member in Chamber of Commerce. I'm a president in Homeowner Association in La Mesa. And I have a desire to give back to community, so that's only the reason I apply for that.
Thank you. Beautiful. We're going to start with Mr. Shield.
Thank you for coming tonight. Have you read the language in the bond measure regarding the purpose of the CBOC and its duties?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess my question has to do with your availability for the job. The CBOC meets on the last Wednesday of the month. I assume that as a manager of a business, you'd be able to get away for that. Is that correct?
I briefly talked to Nancy about that. It's last Wednesday and then a couple times of the month. We are meeting the committee, subcommittee meets and then CBOC meets. So I have no problem about finding that time, so.
I'm sure Ms. Wright would probably ask you to attend some site visits also. of
Absolutely.
Various projects she has. That wouldn't pose a problem for you either. is that
Yes.
correct?
As a part of the Motel 6, I have a 12 property from San Isidro all the way to Escondido and Carlsbad, so I'm traveling all the time, so.
So you'd be able to stop at one of our
Absolutely.
projects. That's great. That's all I have. Mr.
Yep,
Tate.
yep.
Mr. Hoy?
Actually, I'll answer these for you. You have two children.
Yes.
One goes to Grossmont, one is at Northmont.
Yep.
What grade is your child in Grossmont in?
10th.
10th. Well, we've got that taken care of. The
Okay.
only question I have left is, have you visited any other campuses in the district?
Grossmont High, obviously, so many times. And then just drove through. I haven't gone inside the campus, but yeah, drove through many others, yeah.
Thank you. Mrs. Schreiber?
But yes, thank you. Thank you for considering your application and to volunteer to run a CBOC. We appreciate it. My question for you is, have you ever served on a Citizen Response Oversight Committee or a similar type group in the past?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Have you ever served on a Citizens Bond Oversight Committee in the past?
No, I have never served.
Or a similar group?
Homeowner Association and a couple other chambers and kind of thing, but I never bond committees, no.
Thank you. And then my question is, please briefly explain your interest in serving on the CBOC and what unique qualities you could bring to the committee.
I think your question is about the motivation why I want to serve.
Yeah.
Once again, I initially in my initial conversation I mentioned about that my son goes into Grossmont High. I personally believe that I have a moral obligation to give my expertise and knowledge and whatever I have. So I started my career as an electrical engineer. I worked as 10 years as an electrical engineer in my country, and then in 2001 I went to Canada. I work in IT, and then since last 9 years I've been working in a Motel 6 as a general manager. So I have expertise in accounting, renovation, buildings, and those expertise was matching with whatever the expectation CBOC has it. So that was only the motivation I had.
Thank you. Do any other board members have any additional questions?
Yes.
Go ahead, Mrs. Schreiber.
Thank you. I just had a follow-on question to number 2 when we asked if you could participate in some site visits and some regularly scheduled monthly CBOC meetings and maybe some of the subcommittee meetings. I would like to encourage you to consider attending some of our board meetings or reviewing our board meetings on the video tapes of our board meetings, where our CBOC members, I think, would have a better understanding of what some of the questions are the board members are asking if you either attended a meeting or if you reviewed the video meetings on our website. So I just wanted to encourage you to consider that.
Yes, I mean, actually, day before yesterday, I went online website and I checked a couple videos, and that was awesome. So I mean, check and I involve understanding about the CBOC's jobs and descriptions.
Yes. Mr.
Great.
Tank, do you have any additional information you'd like to share with the board?
Not at this point, no. I think I answered all the questions, and yep.
Well, we thank you for your interest in serving on the CBOC, and we're going to ask you to please leave the boardroom
Okay.
to allow the board to discuss and deliberate on this issue, and the staff member will inform you after our vote.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. You have a good day.
Okay, I need a motion and a second to discuss and approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, great. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President, I think he's exceptionally well qualified.
Yes, beautiful. I completely concur. And Mr. Hoy shaking his head yes. Mr. Shield?
I'll call a question.
Okay. Priscilla, do you have any comments?
No, I think his resume was very impressive, and I'm just thrilled that we have a parent volunteer to fill that seat and roll up his sleeves and get to work with our committee. So, no, I see he sounds great.
Beautiful. Well, it looks like this could be unanimous, but Mrs. Schreiber, would you please begin the vote?
Aye.
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 Aye. and I am thrilled to announce that it passes 5-0. If you could please,
He's right in the hall.
okay, if you could notify Mr. Tank. Yes, if someone could find him.
He'll be here directly.
Okay. Oh, you want to? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so should we just, what would you prefer to Makes no difference. Okay, yeah, go ahead, please. Okay, so, yeah, you'll be the one announcing it. Okay, thanks. The suspense is killing me.
In the meantime, Mr. President, maybe you could do a few magic tricks for us to
Yeah.
fill this.
Or how about a little stand-up comedy?
That would be nice, too.
We could do the next item.
I'd clear the room real quickly. That must be a long hallway. Mr.
Mi-
Hoy?
Mrs. Schreiber,
Yes,
what time is it where you are?
it is 9:13.
Could you check the Aztec game should be over already there and tell me what the
Yeah.
score is?
I don't get the Aztec game, but I can report on Thursday night football.
Oh, boo.
Okay, but we have something even more exciting to announce to Mr. Tank, the outcome of the vote.
The motion passed 5-0, and you have been appointed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, excellent presentation. We were all very, very impressed.
In reality, there was no presentation. But I'll be doing as part of the CBOC team, and I'm committed to give my full-time expertise and knowledge. And during the course, I'll be doing some presentation.
Thank you. You look like quite a wonderful gentleman.
Thank
And-
you.
And we look forward to having you serve with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now to revision to Proposition H&U Citizen Bond Oversight Committee's bylaws to allow members to serve 3 consecutive 2-year terms. I need a motion second to discuss and approve.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, Mrs. Schreiber, please begin the vote.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion passes 5-0. You guys are way too agreeable tonight. Okay, now we're going to review and revise or reaffirm the Select Board bylaws. I need a motion and a second to discuss.
Motion to reaffirm the bylaws listed.
Okay, motion to reaffirm the bylaws listed. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Okay. Any discussion? Mr. Shield, did you want to walk
I
us
just,
through this?
having read them over, I think that they are good bylaws as they stand, and they help us refine and define the relationship between individual board members and staff, because as we all have been trained, CBOC and otherwise, this board actually only holds authority from gavel to gavel when we are meeting. And so outside of those meetings, we can do some research on the outside, but it is inappropriate for us to utilize district resources, the time of employees, et cetera, for an extended period of time. And so I'm happy to reaffirm these board bylaws the way they're written.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I would just, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You want Dick?
Okay, Priscilla, we got her name, and Jim, if you'd like to speak, if you would mind pressing the button. Okay, Priscilla, please begin.
Thank you. Okay, just want to thank you for bringing these bylaws forward. It was a good review, and I hope that we have some protocols with this, or some kind of administrative regulations, if you will, that we can work together as a governance team with our superintendent for those type of questions that we defined as readily available answers for board members for clarification, and for board agenda items, and then those that would probably require more than 1 hour a month of staff's time. So if we could maybe follow up with that to have some kind of a protocol or administrative regulation or directives for the board and the superintendent and the governance team, when we do have a question, that it would be identified at that time if we're exceeding our 1 hour from us.
Okay.
Mr. President, I'd like to call for the question, please.
Okay. Mrs. Schreiber, please vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes 5-0. Or should we have Jeanette? You know, I haven't been reading properly all these things. I've been blowing this the whole meeting. Okay. Move on. Action items. A public hearing on Resolution 2014-08 on sufficiency of instructional materials. I declare this hearing open. I call speakers to the podium. And I declare this hearing closed. Next item, adoption of Resolution 2014-08 on sufficiency of instructional materials. Ask for a motion second to discuss and approve.
So move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, is there any discussion? Mrs. Schreiber, please vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next item, approval of plan for allocation of one-time funding for California Common Core implementation. I need a motion and second to discuss and approve.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Is there any discussion?
Dick?
Oh, Dick, if you could press her button there, please. That sounds funny, press her button. Okay, Mrs. Schreiber, please begin.
Okay, thank you. The staff and the board, the superintendent is very much aware of the research and the questions that I've had under the new educational reform, which is Common Core. The staff and anyone in attendance knows that I don't support Common Core conceptually in the way that it was brought into the state. But the more important thing for me tonight is the fact that we're going to vote on an implementation plan, but really this plan is how to spend $3.7 million. We have not discussed anything further about Common Core, maybe some of the financial implications. So the plan to me is not fully developed. And in the 3 years we have these contracts and some of these instructional resources, by the time we go to do after our field testing, I think after 2015, 2016, those contracts will expire, and that'll be another $700,000 in 3 years. If we have a plan for the computers and things like that, technology might be 3 or 5 years after that. So my concern is that we really have not looked at this, even though it's a mandate by the state and it's a framework. I just feel like I wanted to do my due diligence in asking some very pertinent questions. So I know how to address our constituency. As we move forward, we know what to expect. And so thus was the board policy to basically use that as a means not to have this kind of discussion and to ask any of these questions, where the board certainly could have found 1 or 2, I would have thought, out of the 30 questions that I submitted that were important enough to do our due diligence as board members and utilizing taxpayer dollars. And plus the fact, using taxpayer dollars when we've had no community forums and 2/3 of the people in the population don't even know what Common Core is.
Mrs. Schreiber?
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, unfortunately, your 2 minutes up. I know you can't see the clock, but unfortunately, your 2 minutes is up. Mr. Sterringer.
Okay, can I have a second to finish?
Well, you'll get a second bite of the apple because Mr. Sterringer's going to speak next, and then after everyone's spoken once, then we'll give everyone a second round. Mr. Sterringer.
Yeah, Mr. President, my understanding is that it's unlawful for the federal government to actually try to interfere with local control of education, and that Common Core really technically has no federal government content, that it was created by the Council of Chief State School Officers, sometimes known by the awkward acronym CCSSO. But my understanding also is that the federal government can, through the power of the purse, exercise some authority over local control. Just out of curiosity, as the newest member of this board, are we aware of any federal interference in our Common Core implementation?
Do you want to answer that, Mr. Superintendent?
The answer is briefly, the answer is no. You're correct in your assessment of the organizations which brought forward the Common Core for consideration. The Congress nor the President have taken no active role in the implementation of the Common Core, although there have been efforts to tie implementation to other applications for consideration with the federal government, but there is no direct connection.
Would that be like, I think it's called Race to the Top or something like that?
Yes, which California has not been successful in pursuing.
Yeah, but is our funding dependent upon our acceptance of any portion of that?
No.
Are we judged how we do on Race to the Top on
No.
Common Core? Okay.
We will not be pursuing that.
Thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Schreiber, I was assuming you wanted to speak again?
Yes, thank you.
Okay,
Um,
hold on just for a second, please. We want to get, the clock shows 12 seconds, so we want to get it back to 2 minutes.
Thank you.
If we get started over for Mrs. Schreiber. Okay, please begin.
Thank you. Well, obviously, we have a different take of how this all came down, and I greatly respect my colleagues on the board. I have a different understanding of how this came down. When money is funneled to the consortiums, our Smarter Balance Consortium, I have a real concern how local control will be forfeited to consortiums and to the Department of Education, who is funding the consortium with corporate dollars, and actually they have to, after 3 years, go after private dollars. So I don't see the sustainability in a lot of this, and I see the grants that are 3-year shelf life that are going to put this district in an awkward position to maintain something that we haven't even, and the state hasn't even decided how are our districts going to maintain this. So anyway, all that to say is there are some good things about Common Core. I think our state could have done it without a national, without the national education thing. I believe that there are 3 federal laws that are violated. So Jim and I can probably have that conversation at a later date. I can share some other information with him. But the bottom line for me is that there was no parent participation in any of this. Parents don't know what's going on with Common Core, and I don't know that we're going to have the money to sustain this 3 years after we get to $3.7 million. So I will not be supporting this.
Okay, is there any more comments or questions by board members? Mrs. Schreiber, please begin the vote.
Nay.
Aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes 4-1. Action items. Approval of monthly budget overview for the period ending August 31st, 2013. I need a motion and a second to discuss and approve. Motion and a second.
I move.
Second.
Okay, second. We got a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Schreiber, please vote.
Aye.
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 I got myself off the page, but aye, too.
And aye. Motion passes 5-0. Adoption of Resolution 2014-10 in the matter of intention to sell vacant property owned by the Grosse Pointe Union High School District. I need a motion second to discuss and approve.
So move.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I couldn't hear some of the questions of concern. Were those addressed, Scott, or could you address those?
Excuse me,
Can I?
Mrs. Schreiber, if you could ask Mr. Hoy to press your button there.
I did.
And
Oh, I'm sorry.
hang on just a second, Ms. Schreiber. Mr. Stern, did you also want to speak on this issue too? Sure. Okay, good. All right, Mrs. Schreiber, please begin.
Yeah, I couldn't hear all the questions exactly, and I heard Scott answered a couple things, so have we maybe not answered them to their satisfaction? I don't know that. Or were they answered?
So,
What were the questions? Are there questions on the table that are concerned still?
Yeah, I don't know if we want to go back and revisit that. Ms. Schreiber, I think it
I'm sorry, I just couldn't hear it, so.
I know, here's what I'd recommend, is rather than redoing the meeting, is if there's something you can't hear, if you could just stop us at that point where you didn't hear something, because we don't want to invite the people, if they're even still here, to come back and repeat it and so forth.
No, I'm not asking that. I'm just asking Scott. I think he addressed a couple issues. So are they satisfactorily addressed? Is my question.
Oh, if I may.
Okay.
The question came from a public speaker having to do with whether we would sell this to a particular individual or entity, and I outlined the fact that we must go through a very prescriptive process, offering it to public entities, and then ultimately doing a public auction.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I'm sorry. I couldn't get all that, and I wanted to make sure that we addressed it.
Okay, Mr.
If that's
Sterringer.
okay. Thank you.
Mr. President, my understanding is that this just simply starts the procedure. But even to start the procedure, you still need a supermajority of the board, which you very well may get, but you won't really get it without my vote. I will be voting no on this. We've owned the property probably for 80 years, and although we haven't identified a public need for it at this point, it's, I think, very likely that given another few years, we may very well find that we wish we'd held on to this particular parcel. And I know that there's a discussion of maybe $100,000 or so for this, but state law would prohibit us from using that money for general purposes, so we'd have to actually earmark something probably special for it. I would like to have any one of my colleagues join me in voting no, although I don't expect that to happen. But this is a long procedure, and maybe I can change some minds in the next few months. Okay. Thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome. Any other comments or questions by board members? Mrs. Schreiber, please vote.
Aye.
Aye. No.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-1, but we thank Mr. Sterringer for his comments. Resolution 2014-13, authorization to, authorizing the issuance in a terms of sale of not to exceed $40 million of Proposition U Series 2013 general obligation bonds. I call upon Deputy Superintendent Scott Patterson to report.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Tonight we are asking the governing board to authorize the issuance of Proposition U bonds in the amount of $40 million. This will be the fifth series of bonds to be sold, bringing the total to $220 million out of the total $417 million authorized by the voters. The parameters of the sale are consistent with the information that's been shared with the governing board in the two workshops, most recently last month and then earlier in the year, but I will remind you of a few of the highlights. These will be current interest bonds with maximum maturities of between 30 and 40 years. The facilities financed with these proceeds will have useful lives well in excess of that, even that 40-year time frame, in excess of 50 years for the facilities that we'll be building. This takes advantage of tax revenues in the out years and leaves room in our next bond sale currently planned for 2015, which will most likely be comprised solely of CABs, capital appreciation bonds, at that time. However, the recent law that just passed that becomes effective on January 1, AB 182, will set the parameters for those sales to include no more than 25-year maturities and payback ratios. We've made our assessed valuation projections based on 4.3% in the out years. That represents the 20-year average for our district and has been the subject of some discussion with our CBOC, and there was some comment about that tonight. We'll be assisted in the sale by our financing team, Loop Capital as the financial advisor. Mr. Mark Young is with us here tonight. Oric Harrington is our bond counsel. Stiefel Nicholas and Company is the lead underwriter, with De La Rosa being the co-managing underwriter. We expect to implement the sale later this month. County Board of Supervisors are also required to approve the sale in addition to this governing board, and they'll do so later this month. And we are in lockstep sync with the county treasurer. As you know, the county treasurer was a lead factor in the bond school finance reform that occurred, and his office will act as paying agent. So with that, we ask you for your approval.
Any comments or questions by board members?
Are you ready for a motion on that? I don't think we had a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to move that we adopt this agenda item.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Sterringer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hoy. Discussion and/or questions?
There,
Okay, Mrs. Schreiber, please begin.
Thank you. Well, I support our bond program. I have watched this process for quite some time since we did our bond review before we had the revenue picture. And as I said at the CBOC, and we did a lot of talking about maybe they should have weighed in maybe sooner, or they're going to be weighing in sooner and reassessing what the next bond is going to look like in 2015. I have asked this board to really consider doing a reprioritizing of our projects. So I will not be supporting this issuance at this level at this time.
Okay. Anyone else like to speak? Mrs. Schreiber, please vote.
Nay.
Aye.
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 Aye, the motion passes 4-1. Adoption of Resolution 2014-14 in support of renaming the 400 building of Monte Vista High School to the Sam Rurick Social Sciences Building.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got 3 motions and seconds. I think we really want to do about 5. Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, I'll speak. This will be the easiest vote I've ever cast. Mr. Schreiber, please begin.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Next item. Excuse me. Award a contract for the Performing Arts Center mechanical ductwork at Helix Charter High School, GU-14002.PAMC to Rand Enterprises, Inc. Need a motion, second.
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Schreiber, please vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Award contract for Performing Arts Center electrical revisions at Helix Charter High School, GU-14.002.PAEL. Need a motion, second.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Ms. Schreiber, please vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Adoption of resolution number 2014-15, endorsing a master program of educational specifications. I need a motion, second.
So move.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Dick.
Ms. Schreiber, please begin.
Thank you. I just have to ask Scott, without going through all of this, do we have budgets tied to all of this ed specs that show the reduction in reducing square footage or from the current scope of work to the new scope?
Yes, and I'm looking at Katie Wright to confirm that, who's just walked to the microphone. Did you hear the question, Katie?
I did. These are specifications by which we do planning, so there really isn't a budget tie to them. The Grossmont admin building, for example, or the Granite Hills admin building are now downsized, if you will, to follow these specs. So there's a savings. I can quantify it for you from where we were, but this is just a new directive as we do our planning.
Okay, Kate, I'm sorry, some of that was garbled, so I'm looking at the budget sheet. So this is the revised budget? I mean, the spreadsheet? That's not really budget, is it?
No,
Or
it's
is that
square
footage?
No, it's square footage is associated with the admin facilities. So it shows the previous allowable under the specs and the new reduced amount.
Okay. Okay, I guess my problem is in all of this is last time we did ed specs, we had no budget. So that was my concern last time, 2009. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Mrs. Schreiber, please vote.
No.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion passes 4-1. Public hearing on Resolution 2014-03 to grant an easement to the Helix Water District in, upon, over, and across a portion of the Chaparral High School site.
So moved.
Well, actually, this is a hearing. I'm going to declare the hearing open, call speakers to the podium. Okay, the hearing's closed. Was that easy or what? Adoption of Resolution 2014-03 to dedicate an easement to the Helix Water District at Chaparral High School. Is there a motion second to discuss and approve?
So moved.
Okay, and second by Mr. Hoy. Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Report of actions taken and ratification of change orders approved pursuant to the provisions of Resolution 2013-69. Do I have a motion to second?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Report on emergency waiver project, the old gym flooring at Grossmont High School, and approval to continue the emergency action.
I move, so moved.
I knew Jim would move, being a graduate of Grossmont High.
I love that, Jim.
Okay, we got to fix that up. And we need a second.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Please vote.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Report on emergency waiver project, Transformer West Hills High School, and approval to continue the emergency action.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion, second, discussion. Please vote.
Aye.
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 We're almost done, gang. Consolidated agenda. The consolidated motion expedites board action on all agenda items which are not held for discussion. Items that are held are excluded from the consolidated agenda and will be acted upon individually. Do any board members have any items to be pulled?
Dick?
Please, go ahead.
I have the, what is this? 11, let's see, 14A, 14C, and 14D.
Does any of the board members have any items to pull? I need a motion second to approve the agenda, the consolidated agenda with the exception of those three items.
So move.
Second.
Okay. Please vote. Mrs. Schreiber.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Mrs. Schreiber, let's see, we need a motion second to discuss 14A.
So moved.
I'll second it, but I'm not there yet. I got to
Okay.
find it.
So we have a motion second. Well, that's okay because Mrs. Schreiber is going to lead us.
Okay. I had a question on this one. How many parents are on this?
What is? I can't find it.
Okay, 14A is ratification and approval of nominees to serve on the Community Advisory Council. Okay. Now, who'd like to answer that question on the dais?
We have Rose Tagnesi here, our special ed director. She
Okay,
can come.
Rose Tagnesi, what would be the answer?
How many parents are on the community advisory council? 5 to 6 parents. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. I meant to get that question to you sooner. Thank you, Rose.
Okay, so we're ready to vote? Please
Yes.
vote.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion passes 5-0. Okay, how about a motion and a second to discuss 14C?
So moved.
B, is it B or C?
B.
Oh, I'm sorry.
C and D, okay,
I'm sorry,
14C.
14.
We need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and this is to the approval to purchase Turnitin.com.
Okay, Mr. President, this is, C and D are part of the implementation plan that have a 3-year shelf life that I just voted against the implementation. So I need to pull those so I can vote against them.
Okay, any further discussion? Ms. Schreiber, please vote.
No?
Aye.
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 Aye, motion passes 4-1. And then a motion and second to discuss 14D, which
So
is the
moved.
approval to purchase Lynda.com.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Mrs. Schreiber?
Same reason.
Okay. Okay, please vote.
No?
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 4-1. And now to board member reports. Do any board members have any reports to report on? Boy, you guys are way too passive tonight. Boy, they're so relaxed and compliant.
I'd like to congratulate the president on maybe getting us out of here before 8 o'clock.
Okay, good. I'll take that. Thank you very much, Mr. Sterninger. Okay, so there's no board member reports. Okay, we don't have any communications items on the agenda. Our next regular board meeting is Wednesday, November 13, 2013, 6 o'clock right here at ECRAC, not Thursday. The meeting is adjourned.
Bye.
Good meeting, Jim.